that Waffle House girl?
I did.
The Waffle House girl?
Yeah. Waffle House is one of the best fighting rings I've ever seen.
I haven't seen that yet.
Wait, so is their business model sustainable though?
Waffle House? It's crushing it, bro.
All right, Nick, educate us on the PFL.
Oh. The PFL is a MMA league organization, and they're big.
Is it pussy fighting league?
Got him!
What's cool about the PFL is that, unlike the UFC, they do a tournament style for each weight division, and the winner of the tournament bracket wins $1 million at the end.
Oh.
And
Whoa!
they pay their
Is it the
fighters.
same night? Is the tournament the
No,
same
it's
night?
it's over like a couple months maybe.
It's like a last man
Same
standing
night would be crazy.
I don't think
The
that's
old school MMAs were like that.
Is it last man standing style?
kinda, but it's like so if you
But it's overtime.
you have like 4 fights to the title, and then if you win the title, you get $1 million. But then it's cool because they restructure it in a way where they pay their fighters to be able to have a life and be able to compete for the $1 million. And then like if you win by like a knockout, you get like 4 points, and that puts you up at the top of the bracket. If you win by decision, you get like 2 points or some shit.
That's
the
pretty
way
cool.
it works out.
Good.
The way it works out is the guys who get finishes, the guys that do really well, they get incentivized.
Really winning, you're doing better.
You get the top of the seed,
like
and then
clear knockouts, not by decision.
and a lot of the UFC guys that got cut from the UFC have gone to the PFL and won championships there and won millions of dollars. So it's like a cool thing where it's like, oh, if you're talking about fighter pay, it is really cool to see an organization that is paying their fighters pretty well.
Nothing pissed me off more recently than watching that Patty the Batty fight.
Oh, yeah.
And hearing him like basically Donald Trump his way into trying to sell the crowd that it was a great fight. Yeah. He's like, fight to the night, eh? Fight to the fucking night. And I'm like, bro, you won by decision and everyone thought you lost.
Yeah, he didn't win that fight.
Fight on the night.
Fight to the fucking night. God, dude.
Who runs the PFL? Like who started that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think it was this guy named Ray Sefo because it was.
Oh yeah?
I think he's one of the
He's a
presidents.
kickboxing legend from
And
K1.
before it used to be called World Series of Fighting, and then I think they restructured the company into this PFL.
It was founded by venture capitalist Don Davis.
Never mind.
Wow. Wow. That is way
I
off.
was like, damn, I didn't know
might have been
Ray
the
Seffo's
president.
business acumen was so crazy.
Ray Sefo might have been like the Dana White, actually.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. He
But I don't
could
know.
bring people together. Yeah. Because he's a legend.
What's also mentioned here is that
I was like, Ray.
Is that the
I was
nobody
like,
fights?
fact check.
Nobody fights for $1 million and everything Nick just said is bull.
wait, what?
What does PFL stand for?
Professional Fighter, Pussy Fighters League.
Oh, professional
Fighters League. Oh, too late on that
Love
one.
that. I was drinking.
Paul and the PFL have co-created a pay-per-view division called PFL PPV Super.
Jake Paul, right?
Yeah.
Super fight.
I saw he just got signed to it. PFL.
Which is a huge deal. It's a huge deal.
And that is a division that guarantees fighters will receive 50% of revenue from its events.
50%. That's a ton.
Well, remember when Jake Paul was talking shit to Dana White about that stuff?
Totally. Yeah.
So now he's putting his money where his mouth.
And this is the
Kinda
perfect.
dope.
This is the perfect league for him to like combine with, to like talk shit to Dana White.
Pretty good.
So Paul is the first fighter signed.
org to talk to another org about
And now everybody's like, well, why don't you fight MMA? Fight MMA?
because Ben Askren's there.
Yep. Oh, is he?
Yeah.
He's part of PFL now, huh?
Yeah, Ben Askren's there.
Do you guys think that Dana White's going to give his wife a shot at the title?
The slap championship, yeah. On TBS. I mean, not on TBS anymore, but yeah.
So yeah, Paul's the first fighter signed to the new division. He doesn't have a match scheduled, but plans to compete in 2023. He says, quote, "I've proven myself in and out of the boxing ring, and now I am going to do the same in MMA, and there's no limit to the positive impact I can have on the sport."
Wow. That's pretty gangster, dude.
I like that.
It's pretty cool.
The path he's paving is pretty gangster if you think
Did you
about
guys hear that he's also the communications director for the Cleveland Browns?
No way.
it. Jake Paul?
Someone's about to bring up food.
We got a knock, and it's not food.
You sure?
I know it's not food.
Why? It's your wife?
Hey guys, we have a special guest. No, come on, come inside. Just real quick, just say hi.
Just say hi.
What the hell?
She rocked your phone, dude.
What is it?
Hey!
What?
Nice to meet you. Hi.
What the heck? Wait, how is this a thing? She's bringing your
I
phone?
was messaging.
She brought your phone, dude.
I was taking a shit earlier. She's like, I'm trying to bring the phone. What's the address?
That's so nice, because I didn't even.
Happy New Year.
Wow, thanks for doing that. That's really cool.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi.
Yeah, she's never met. Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
That's
You want something to drink?
You want something to drink?
You want some
You
Quest
guys need
protein
something to
shakes?
drink?
You want some chicken?
You want to sit down? You want to get in the hot seat?
You want some barbacoa?
Hey, you want to get in the hot seat?
Thanks for bringing my phone. That's cool.
Yeah, you kept getting scam calls. I was like, oh.
Oh,
Kept ringing.
You want to call him back?
thanks for not signing up to anything. Wow, that is so sweet.
That's very sweet.
That's love, dude.
Thank you.
You want to go say bye to your chick?
I didn't even ask. Yeah,
Feel
sure.
free to take a second. We're not-
Kiss her.
Kiss, 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 kiss. Ding, 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 ding.
Do it on camera. Do it on camera. Yeah! Love is in the air.
Kiss Nick, kiss Nick, kiss Nick, kiss Nick.
Attitude era, dude.
Kiss Nick.
Oh, that's a real attitude
Oh
there.
shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!
That was so nice.
No, and then Ryan has to stand there and go.
Pulls out a chair.
That's attitude era.
Dude, that's so cool.
I was thinking of Dunn, and she's like, "Oh, what's the address? I could drop it off." And she's like, "Yeah, just let him know." And I was like, "I'm not gonna tell him."
Dude, that was the most thoughtful thing I've ever
Brought my
seen.
phone. I didn't even like say anything to her. That's so cool.
Tiff would never bring my phone, dude. She would throw it in the fucking
You would laugh
trash.
at me.
Yeah.
You throw it in the trash.
The fucking garbage disposal, dude.
Yeah.
None of them watch the show either.
All right, so back to the pussy thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Pussy Fighters League. Paul and the PFL said they want to create a fighter-first culture with the new 50-50 revenue partnership model for all pay-per-view fights. The revenue split is much better than what talent makes in the UFC, where fighters reportedly earn less than 20% of gross revenue.
Which is true.
It's very true. And the only guys that make all the good money in the UFC are probably the biggest stars.
The stars, yeah.
So it's still like, regardless of your record, it's just if you draw in the seats, you're gonna get paid more.
If you get the pay-per-view
I mean,
number.
logistically, that also kind of makes sense. Like you can't pay more than like what is, you know. What are you laughing at?
Huh?
What are you laughing at?
Keep going. I'll tell you later. I don't want to derail.
Think about Ryanimay kissing girls right now.
Why is that funny?
That was pretty funny.
So yeah. Also, per the announcement, Paul has been appointed quote head of fighter advocacy, and said he will continue to work towards a business model that benefits fighters. Quote, I invite all top MMA fighters, both men and women, to join the PFL and get a payday like they've never had before.
See, that's a really good incentive. Now there's competition in the marketplace with fighters where they might be like, hey, once my contract is up, I'm going to go to the PFL. Like Nate Diaz, his contract was up in the UFC.
Yeah, where is like PFL like compared to like UFC? Are we talking like NFL XFL? Are we talking like
Kind of.
NBA WNBA? Like, what are we talking about?
like PFL, I think in a lot of people's eyes, MMA fans that are like casual, they kind of really don't know it exists. But they
It's like
put
TJ Maxx, probably.
not even. It's probably like a.
So this is when Shaquille O'Neal's like, no Reebok, no Adidas, no Nike. I'm gonna go to Payless Shoe Source.
Because there's
Kinda.
there's like UFC, Bellator,
Yeah, PFL.
one in Asia.
One, yeah, UFC, one, Bellator, and then maybe PFL. But PFL's on ESPN.
How long has PFL's been around?
A couple years, 2 years.
And then Wipeout.
You see that Waffle House girl?
Did.
The fucking Waffle House girl?
Yeah,
The fucking-
dude. Waffle House is one of the best fighting rings I've ever seen.
I haven't seen that yet.
Wait, so is their business model sustainable though?
Waffle House? It's crushing it, bro. Margins are sick.
And then when you get into Waffle House, you hear, it's time! Once you get between those four walls, dude, you don't know what's gonna happen.
That's the tough part. It's hard to say because that's what Dana White always says, where he's like, if you guys try to run this business, you'll see why it's the way it is.
Right. That's
So
what
who
I'm
knows? I mean, none of them have been around as long as the UFC. And I think the way he does it, it's like you kind of have to prove yourself and make yourself a mini star, and then he'll give you a launch pad, which is why the stars make hella money. But in the beginning, people get like 10 G's, maybe a fight, 20 G's a fight, and you're not even shown on pay-per-view.
So Patty the Batty, right? He's a star.
He's a star.
He probably gets a lot of pay-per-view numbers for every time he fights. But his last contract was like 12 and 12, so meaning 12,000 to show, to fight, and then 12,000 to win. For someone who is as a big of a star as he is, 24K is like, that's how much you get to fight somebody in the cage.
Does boxing pay better because the audience size is bigger? Because that's the only thing that makes sense for me. Where like football, right? The audience size is massive, even though if it's just the U.S. watching it.
It's hard to compare because if you're an up and coming like journeyman boxer, you're making like $1,000 a fight.
Yeah.
So it depends on who you're comparing. Are you comparing like star with star?
Yeah, star with star.
Like middleman.
Are you like a
middleman?
Ryan?
The stars will not make as much as boxers, and I'm not even saying like people who throw their own fights like Mayweather. I'm just talking about like guys that show up and get paid. They're even getting way more than like a UFC fighter. Is it because of how long it's been around, like TV versus YouTube, or like I don't really get it. Like,
It's equalizing now. I don't know if the top boxers are getting paydays like the way Mayweather used to.
Yeah.
Well, there's something to the weighting the contracts too, because like MLB, they'll pay people like $400 million.
That's what I
Like,
mean
what
by,
the
like-
fuck?
yeah, and then they could get injured and still get paid. And then the contracts are really good for baseball versus like football. If you're injured, you're out. You don't get paid.
And the average is like $500,000, $500,000. Like average player gets that.
So the bench warmer's getting a fuck ton of money in baseball. Is it because it's been around so fucking long?
I think so.
The contract's way more sick.
The contracts are long though in baseball. You're talking about like 10, 12-year contracts sometimes, but like with UFC or fighting, it's like that person might not last till the next fight.
And that's the big thing.
The person could even get injured in training camp and he's out the next fight.
But didn't Patty the Batty sign something with like Barstool and a couple other places? So like
6 or 7 figure deal.
So that supplements his income, and then what he gets from the fight is like 24 G's, but then he gets a bunch of other shit for being like a big name.
So apparently there's a lot of controversy with Ariel Helwani is like the big MMA journalist. He's great. But he was talking about specifically Patty the Batty's manager works for this company called it's like the Irish UFC, the Cage Warriors.
Oh,
And they
that's
are
where like Connor came up.
Yeah, that's where Connor came from. They are the feeder system to the UFC. So because he is the manager of this promotion, this fight promotion of Cage Warriors, and he's the manager of Patty the Batty, there's a lot of controversy saying that like, oh, he's just kind of using you to get a really low deal for Patty the Batty, but the UFC gets all the benefit because he's a massive star and they get to benefit way more from how many eyes he brings to the show. But then Patty the Batty don't care because he's got Barstool. Mm-hmm. Barstool's paying him probably like 6-7 figures to be a sponsored athlete, so they're taking care of him. But if he didn't have that, I wonder what he would feel like if he was getting paid $24K with all the eyes he's getting.
Interesting, yeah.
That's the weird dilemma. Like he's in a really special place, you know.
I could see how a model with PFL with 50-50 revenue split towards the fighters could still make sense from a business model. I mean, it's revenue split, right? So it's like it's in their actual net earnings.
You get a guy like Jake Paul to bring all the eyes to this promotion. Now you're cooking with some fire.
50% of whatever Jake Paul is going to bring is probably still heat. You know what I mean?
Because there's some UFC fighters that are like, you know, I think Jake Paul is a fucking asshole, but I like what he's doing. You know, like
Is it true though that Jake Paul and Logan Paul bring the eyes but not the money in terms of people paying for pay-per-view?
See, I think because the product of the boxing matches are just kind of like hit or miss. It depends on who the B side is, right? Obviously, we know Jake Paul is the A side, but the last pay-per-view they did was, who did he fight last? Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
Apparently Anderson Silva's pay-per-view fight like didn't really do.
It kind of tanked a little.
It kind of tanked, right? But I think it's because it's Anderson Silva, and it's like he may not be as mainstream as like, I don't know who.
And the novelty kind of wore off a little bit.
Yeah, and he's a 45-year-old dude. It's like people are kind of getting sick of Jake Paul anyway. But this brings a whole new light to it, especially if he's gonna fight MMA.
Isn't it like, because I don't know what I'm looking at when I'm watching UFC fights, for example. Yeah. Like, I just see a lot of fucking dudes hugging and stuff. But,
Lame.
and like the jiu-jitsu stuff, I don't know. Like, but you guys are fans of it, right? And you kind of know what you're looking at. So, like, is it like maybe the matchup? Like, for me, I'm like, oh shit, the Bills versus the Bengals. That's two of the best teams, like, in the NFL right now. I can't wait to watch that, right? But then, like, for you guys, it's like Jake Paul versus some clown. Like, or even Silva. Yeah. It's like, that is not even a competition. I would rather do something else tonight.
Yeah.
I think what it is,
I think so.
it's a lot of that, and I think that's what the UFC does really well, is their marketing and their storytelling.
That's what they're best at.
So I think that's 100%. Why they will continue to crush, because if you watch enough of their like UFC Inside Access or even their commercials, two people you never heard of, all of a sudden you're personally invested.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas Jake Paul and Anderson Silva, they technically have an insane storyline there, but it's just, hey, I'm going to fight Anderson Silva. Hey, I'm going to fight Jake Paul. And then they're just repeating that rather than having like a really good story to tell. Like if that was a UFC fight, it would blow like all the seats.
The narrative would be like.
But also
crazy.
too, for the UFC, they have a really strong schedule of fights that they put on all year round. So if the fight's gonna happen in August, you're already hearing about it in fucking June and May.
Yeah.
They're pumping that shit up, and they're like, yo. And so it's always in the back of your mind, and then you always have something to look forward to. And so it's like a steady drip of like really insane matches.
But even like the drip of advertising that I hear about UFC stuff, it's like the best versus the best, right? The heavyweight versus the heavyweight. There's such a huge like anticipation for that because it's like shit, unstoppable force, immovable object, and like it's crazy. But like with Jake Paul versus Silva, it's like a bug versus a boot. It's like who like you're not. You know what I mean? Like
I'd watch that.
But like you know what I mean? Like when I hear about that, I'm just not jazzed for that. It's like
That's also because I think it's mainly for Jake Paul's fans that follow him.
It's for him.
So if that's not sold well to them, I think that's why the numbers tanked. Yeah. Whereas I think when anyone wants to do a fight for the first time, all your fans are like, "Oh shit, that's fucking tight. That's crazy." But if you do it like 8 times and it just seems like the same gimmick, they're like, "Oh, I don't want to watch it anymore. It's the same thing."
I always felt like it was because the Paul brothers have such young fans that are more savvy to just hack the fucking thing.
I think that's it too.
That too. Good point.
Like if you're just a kid, you probably know how to get it and you don't give a shit. But
Oh, just getting the free download link.
older people are more like hassle free and they're like, I'll just pay for it.
Dude, they know how to click the ads too. They're like, they know how to X out the ads in the right sequence. It's impressive.
It's really good.
They can get the X like right in the middle of the cross.
Whereas like idiots like me, I click it and I'm like, oh no, this spyware's downloading.
Like I'll just pay for it. I don't want to get a virus.
Yeah.